Welcome back to the vlog. This is vlog number 218, part of the 5K a month challenge now through December. We're going to be playing in the 1-3 game, buy-in for our normal $500. Looks like a pretty decent game, have some action players and a few wild spots. Doesn't take us long before we get into some action when we have pocket queens in the low jack. It's folded to me. I opened for a standard $15. The cutoff decides that he wants to play for all of his chips, shoves all in for $110. Comes back around to the player in the small blind who just got stacked the previous hand, and he's in a gambling mood, so he sticks in his $100. Big blind gets out of the way, and of course, when it comes back to me, I am not going anywhere. I stick in the $110 and we're off to a flop. Hopefully we'll get something clean. Dealer takes a moment to figure out the side pot of $20. And then off we go. Looking for no ace, no king. But instead we get a flop that comes out. Ace, ace, nine. Well, if the person has ace, king, we can catch another ace for a jackpot. Doesn't happen. He didn't have an ace. He had pocket nines for a flopped full house. This next hand there is a $6 straddle and one limper. I got queen jack suited in the hijack. I decided to raise to $25. It's good enough to take control of the pot with position. The player on the button decides to put in the call for the $25. We end up getting two more callers out of the blind and one from the limper. We're going to go four ways to a flop with $104 in the center. It's not great having so many opponents, but I don't think anyone is very strong at this point. So when we see a flop that comes out 10 high, well, that's probably more in their range than it is in mine. First two players check. I'm just going to go for a free card and check this. Player on the button decides to jam all in for $52. What could he have? He could have a 10. He could have 8-9 for a straight draw. He could have just about anything. This is one of the wilder players, and he's playing that way today. So one player puts in the call, I put in the call, and we get to see a turn card of 5 of spades. Doesn't help me. We see a river card that comes 4 diamonds. It doesn't help me. It gets checked around. Player on the button shows ace high. And he ends up winning because the other player did have 8-9 and I had 2 overcards in the backdoor flush draw. That didn't improve. Now, one of the reasons I showed you that last hand is just so I can put this one in context. We're playing a $15 bomb pot, so there's 105 in the center. I happen to have jack 5 of spades and I'm in the big blind. So I checked on the flop, and my opponent, who was the same person from last time who bet ace high, makes a bet for $60 into this $105 pot. I got a pair and a flush draw, so even though I'm probably behind, I'm not that far behind on equity, because if he has a pair, 2 pair, whatever, I can make my flush, and if he has a draw, I'm ahead of him now. The player to my right puts in the call for the 60, and so do I. The player on my left thinks for a little bit before he finally decides on putting in the fold. So we're going 3 ways with 285. Turn card comes as ace of hearts. Not a great card, because now if someone, say, has an ace high flush draw, they now have me out paired. But other than that, it really shouldn't change too much. The player to my right checks. Of course I check. I only have bottom pair and a flush draw. And the guy in the +1 jams all in for $177. I hate this, of course. I'm kind of hopeful that the player to my right overcalls. Maybe I'm hopeful that he overjams, but he doesn't. He ends up putting in the fold. So once he folds, I'm stuck in the same position I was before. And my opponent could have a strong hand and I still have the draw. So I'm doing some math, and I'm also giving him the possibility that he is just totally out of line like he was in the previous hand. But I don't know. I think I need to to make my flush. I also think maybe my 5 is good. Maybe I just need trips to win. Maybe a slight chance Jack 5 is good if I catch a Jack. Anyway, I go ahead and make a call. It's a little bit on the loose side. He rolls over pocket 6s for a set. Of course, I miss, and this day is starting out kind of like I did last week, where I got slaughtered. Well, we had 2 more aggressive players sit down at the table. This hand takes place when there is a $6 straddle, an open to 20, and a raise to 65. Now, a player who made it 65 has been playing a lot of hands and making a lot of hands, and he's been playing them very aggressively. I got ace-king on the button. I decided to isolate him by raising to $200. It's folded back around to him, and he snap jams all in. He has me covered. I got about $450 left in my stack, and I honestly don't know what to do here. Normally, a 5-bet jam, especially when it's a snap jam all in, it just screams aces. You know, and that's my big concern. If I'm up against aces, I am a huge underdog. I don't even have a flush draw working for me. But as I said, he's been kind of crazy. And the thing I've been asking myself all this time is, would he be doing this with queens? Would he be doing this with ace king, jacks? I end up making the call. He asked if I want to run it twice. I always tell him I run it once, even though I feel like I'm in deep shit this time. Flop comes 6 high. He rolls over that he has 2 red aces. Turn card's a deuce. I'm yelling for a 5, and of course I pick up a king on the river just to rub it in.
Usually in a 1-3 game, 5-bet jams are always aces, sometimes kings. If you have ace-king, you're in deep shit. Just let it go.
So naturally I reload, this time for $1,000. Been playing for, I don't know, about 30, 40 minutes from then. And haven't really done too much, just sticking around my $1,000 original stack. And then this hand came up. I'm in the big blind with ace 7 suited. It's opened by the player on the button, who's a very competent, aggressive player who puts in a raise to $15. I think he can have a pretty wide range while he's doing this. I'm in the blind. I got a suited ace. I haven't played a hand in a while, not since that ace-king hand. So I raised to $50 out of the big blind. Of course, then it comes back around to him. He takes his time, figures out his plan, and he decides to put in a 4-bet. This time he makes it $145. So it's $95 more to me. I think I'm getting a decent price to play a suited ace, even though I'm out of position. Both our stacks are very deep. He has twice as much as I do, in fact. So I go ahead and make the call, see if I can flop something, and proceed from there. Well, the flop is not bad. I got a pair when it comes 10-7-4, and I got a backdoor flush draw because the 10 is a 10 of diamonds. So second pair, backdoor flush draw. He could have a hand like ace-king. He can have an overpair. He ends up betting $75. Seems like a pretty good price to continue in my book. My plan is to go for a check raise on any ace, any 7, or any diamond. I figured if I get a diamond, I'll pick up enough equity to pressure all those one pair type of hands that he might have. And if he has ace king or ace queen, those will be folded. If I catch a 7 and he has an overpair, there's a high chance he'll pay me off. And if I catch an ace and he has ace king, of course, I'm going to win a big pot. Let's see what the turn brings. And it comes ace of hearts. Perfect card. I would have preferred the 7, of course, but ace of hearts will do. I check it over to him. He thinks for a while, and then he decides to put in a bet for $170. So what kind of hand could he have? Well, if I'm lucky, he'll have a hand like ace king, and I can get my check raise in and win a big pot. If I'm unlucky, he has pocket 10s and he's laying a trap for me. And most likely, I'm thinking that he has some sort of pocket pair, maybe above the tens, but definitely he doesn't have a set. And if I just call here, he's going to be shutting down. And I think that the best play, of course, is just to go ahead and shove all in. I really wish he would have bet a little bit larger on the turn to get more pot committed. Now, when I shove here, I'm hoping to get called by hands like ace-king. If he has ace-king, it's going to be a tough hand for him to get away from. It looks like I might have ace-king by the way I played it. If he has a pocket pair or somehow has king, queen of hearts in this spot, I don't want to give him a free card to suck out because I don't think he's going to be putting any more money into the pot unless he improves. So I think now is the best time to get the money in. No use in slow playing this if he has ace-king. Heck, he might even catch a 10 if he had a hand like ace-king or ace-queen. Counterfeit me. Let's get the money in while the getting's good. I don't think he's going to be paying off anything else. He finds the fold. We finally win a pot. Well, I'm thinking maybe the worm has turned since I won my pot. Here we have an open for $15. I call from the hijack, and so do 5 other players. So we're going 6 ways to this flop that comes 10-10-7 with 2 spades. Really good flop for ace-10, of course. So it comes to me, I bet $30. I really should go a little bit larger, probably $45 or $50 on this. Because it gets folded around to the player in the big blind, and he puts in the quick call. When he calls, I'm putting him on either a very weak 10 or most likely a flush draw. Turn card comes is a 3 of clubs, a relative blank. He checks it over to me. I decided to bet what I thought was a little bit on the larger side when I bet $100. I was trying to not give him the correct price for a flush draw. If a flush card does come and he fires out, I'm just going to be folding because I really think he has a draw at this point. He puts in for the $100. He only has like $120, $125 left. River card comes is a 5 of hearts. Looks like a complete blank, but my opponent decides to shove all in. I'm just going to call, see what he has, and he shows me the 6-4 of spades. One of those days, just one of those days. I'm under the gun with ace queen suited. Normally I just open raise with this, but I would get like 4 or 5 callers. So I decided to try something different and just limp with ace queen of diamonds. My plan is to put in a big raise when everyone else comes in. Of course, someone makes it 20, and we get 2 callers for the 20. And here with a good solid hand, I'm just going to go for the limp re-raise to make it $120. If they want to play, I am more than willing to play a bigger pot with my ace-queen suited. And if not, then I'll just pick up an extra $60 of dead money, basically. It gets folded back around to the player on my right. I think he knows that I don't limp re-raise very often, if at all, so he's a little confused, but he decided that it's a little bit too much money for him to look me up, so he ends up folding. This time I'm in the big blind and someone opens for a raise to $20. I just decided to call from the $20. They're very aggressive and will c-bet just about anything. Flop comes out 8-3 deuce with 2 hearts. I do have the ace of hearts, of course. They put in a c-bet for $45. I'm just going to make the call. I got 2 overcards in the backdoor flush draw. Turn card comes is a 5 of clubs. I check it. They quickly check it back. River is a 9 of spades. I decided to bet this because I'm pretty sure they're very heavily towards ace-king. They show the dealer their hand as they muck, and we might have stole a small pot here. I'm in the small blind with ace-queen of clubs. There was a $3 limp, a raise to 15, a call for 15 on the button. I got a pretty good hand out of position. Let's make it $65. Be happy to take down the dead money, but if someone wants to play, then I have a good hand to fall back on. Everybody folds except for the button player who decides to put in the call, and we head off to a flop, which is really interesting. It comes 8-7 deuce with 2 clubs. So I got 2 overcards and a flush draw. I decided to bet $50. It comes around to the player on the button, of course, and he is interested in the pot. He makes it 125, a very small raise. What could he have with this? It feels like he might have a set. He might have some sort of overpair, maybe nines, tens, jacks that he didn't want to re-raise pre-flop. He has about $225 left in his stack, and I am never going to be folding this hand. But if I just jam, maybe I can get him to fold some of his higher equity hands and I can just take the pot down here. Maybe he has pocket nines or tens or jacks. If he calls, he calls. If he folds, I pick up a pot. I'm happy with that. So I grab a bunch of chips and say,
You got it, you got it.
If my opponent had a hand he couldn't fold, he would snap call right now. And if he had a hand that's more questionable, he'll probably go in the tank, which he is currently doing.
Apparently he doesn't got it.
He's probably in the tank for a good 2 minutes before he finally just says, what would you do with jacks? And of course I don't say anything. I never try to give out any information. So maybe he had pocket jacks and decided to put in the fold. It makes a logical sense, so I guess I believe that. But he does end up folding. Once again, I feel like my luck has changed. Let's see if we can keep it going, this time with pocket jacks in the +1 position. There is a player that limps. I raise to $20. Comes around to the big blind calls, and the limper also puts in the call. So we're going 3 ways to a flop with 61 in, and we get a flop that comes 10-8 deuce with 2 hearts. Pretty good flop for jacks. Both players end up checking. I'm going to continuation bet for $30, half pot. Now the big blind decides that he likes his hand a little bit more than I do, or at least so he thinks. He raises to $90. The next player folds out. Now it's time to narrow my opponent's range down. He could have something like 10-8, I guess. Flush draw seems like an obvious choice. Possible straight draw. Maybe 2 overcards and a flush draw like I had and the previous hand. My plan is just to call here. Blank comes, I'm going to go ahead and put a lot of chips in. Turn card comes as an ace of hearts. Really bad card. I mean, if he had something like king, queen of hearts, king, jack of hearts, something like that, yeah, he might be trapping here when he checks it to me. I'm just going to check it back. I'm basically giving up unless I can catch, you know, a blackjack. River card comes as a queen of clubs. Now my opponent leads for $150. Everything got there. I mean, if he had 10-8, he was there already. If he had a flush draw, he got there. If he had somehow had jack-9, he got there. If he had just 2 overcards, he got there too. I mean, what's he bluffing with? Bluffing what, king 10? Is that his only bluff? Maybe jack 10? I have a hard time thinking of any bluff that would bet for value on the end. So my hand is totally toast, and I'm a little frustrated that the turn was ace of hearts. If it came like 2 of spades, I think we would have had a whole lot of fun on that turn card. But with this one, I just got to let it go. We never got a reveal, but he did say later on to me that he had ace queen and was just making a move at the flop. There's a $15 raise from the low jack, a call from the hijack, and here with 5-4 of hearts in the small blind, I decided to defend for the $15, and the 3 of us see a flop that comes jack 5 deuce with 1 heart. So I got second pair, some backdoor straight draws, some backdoor flush draws. First player checks, and then the hijack leads for $30. He's an aggressive player who likes to stab, so I decided to put in a call, and so does the original raiser. Turn card comes as a 3 of spades. Now I got an open ender with my pair of 5s. I'm probably going to be calling another bet here. I check it, and it ends up getting checked around. I think I might be best. River card comes as an 8 of diamonds. Don't see any point in betting this. I check again. I'm prepared to call down a bluff, but it gets checked around one more time. I show my 5-4 as my opponent shows ace deuce of diamonds. So he flopped a pair and a backdoor draw also. I got pocket fives in middle position. Player opens for 10. I really didn't feel like raising him and isolating him, so I decided just to take my equity and call with the fives. Stacks are pretty deep, and if you can flop a set, you can make some pretty good money. We end up going 4 ways to this flop. That comes 6-5 deuce with 2 diamonds. I do have the 5 of diamonds in my hand. The original raiser bets out for $15. I'm going to put in a raise here just because the board is fairly wet, and the $10 calling ranges are going to be heavily around those hands, like 7-8, flush draws. Maybe someone has a 6 with a gut shot, or ace 4 diamonds, or something like that. Player on the button puts in the call. He had a little bit of a tell, lets me believe that he has a super strong draw. So he can't have a pair and a flush draw, so I'm thinking some sort of combo draw like 7-8 of diamonds, 7-9 of diamonds, maybe ace 4 diamonds, ace 3 of diamonds. We see a turn card of a queen of spades. Shouldn't really improve his hand at all unless he had some sort of queen in his flush draw. I decided I'm going to overbet the pot. Now the reason I'm doing this is because he just lost the previous hand, and I'm sure he's a little bit hot and stuck. And if he has one of those big combo draws like I suspect, I think he's going to pay up for it. He goes into the tank for a while. I can tell that he wants to make the call. The question is he tilt enough to do so? We'll find out. He ends up laying it down. Lost a little value here. Well, we put in 5 hours and decided to call it quits for the day. We ended up losing $680 on that day. Played 3 more days this week and basically ran very similar to this. It was struggle, struggle, struggle all day long. Couldn't get anything going. Taking beats. You know the story. Anyway, I ended up losing $750 for the week, which is not bad considering that I did punt off $450 on that ace-king hand to the man with pocket aces. And I took some other tough beats along the way. I actually thought my overall play was fairly solid, except for that one ace-king hand. And my play for the entire week was pretty good. It's just a little bit embarrassing starting off a $5,000 a month challenge with 2 losing weeks. I'm still optimistic about the chances of me succeeding in this by the end of the year, but for the month of August, I would say I have a below average chance of succeeding, to put it mildly. Anyway, I really do appreciate your support. Hang in there. We'll get better next week, next month, next couple months. And until then, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.